And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Grade A Fantasy. I'm your boy, Grade A Fantasy, here to give you the top plays at wide receiver for the Week 4 NFL Fan Duel main slate. Yes, I know we normally go running back, at least running back or quarterback, and then sometimes I like to go to other big plays that I like to talk DFS wise, but there's enough news to talk about the wide receiver slate. So let's get right into it. So first off, when it comes to the pay up options are great. Puka Nakua, Amon Ra. Now Malik Neighbors is a question mark. He just got a new quarterback, so Jackson Dart's gonna play, and I think Jameson is now back up. I think Russell Wilson is now moved down to number 3. So, just got to be prepared to see how the rookie plays. But obviously, I think the rookie will be smart enough and has a strong enough and accurate arm to make sure he hits Malik Neighbors with enough targets. But when it comes to the payoffs, Puka Nakua it's a talent and a volume thing, and he's worth the 9,400 price tag at home against Indy. Amon-Ra St. Brown can attack that good Cleveland defense. I understand it is a very stingy, young, fast defense. But if there's one thing that they're pretty decent at is where Amon Ra can't get them because he's so talented in both ways. He can definitely. I think with Amon Ra is a value thing. This is one of those where you can either get the 8 to 11 reception, 97-yard, 1 TD game, or you get the one of those crazy 14 targets plus 135 with possibly 2 TDs from Amon Ra, because Amon Ra can attack whatever matchup he gets underneath, without a doubt. One of the best route runners in the league, so I definitely like Amon Ra. And you save 600 from Puka. Nico Collins and AJ Brown are still two of my top plays like last week. It's still Tennessee. The only thing you got to worry about Tennessee is that front four, how they pressured Bo Nix. Is that front four gonna bash over that Houston offensive line and get to CJ Stroud? The offense already on its own is bad enough as it is. So if they can at least give him some time, it's still a bad offense. But fantasy wise, if Nico could do what he did last week, Nico was still a solid option. AJ Brown, once again, pass funnel. I love him and Devontae Smith this week. So the opportunity is there. I think what they saw last week, hey, Saquon was getting stuffed by another good run defense in the Rams. So hey, let's give it to our guys who purely had the advantage. I think AJ Brown is in for a repeat week of last week, and as you can see, FanDuel feels though too. Not only is not every slate the same, but it's good to see where people get priced up from. These were two people. AJ Brown was 7,000 last week. He shot up 1,000. Nico Collins was 77, 78. Now he's 82. So the trend is coming. Lad McConkey against the Giants. This has the essence to be the first. Lad McConkey going crazy with underneath slant targets and getting maybe a 110-yard game off 10 receptions short, and he could get a touchdown. Giants defense is still a problem. Big news. Now, we kind of knew that this was going to happen regardless, but let's just get right down to it. The bottom line is, with all the injuries, and then of course on top with Mike Evans returning, Chris Godwin possibly returning, and Buka survived. He was on the snap count, but he survived, so he's the main starter left. Evans, at his age with a soft tissue injury, might as well rest him, because if Evans gets rested, he'll probably come back in time for when Chris Godwin is back up to full speed. So, with Mike Evans out, we're going to have to start looking down at a couple of options. There goes Chris Godwin at 6,100, planning on making his debut. We'll see about that. But as we keep scrolling down, we're going to have to look real cheap. And we're going to have to look at Sterling Shepard again. In the tight end option, you're going to have to look at... And Sterling Shepard played pretty decent against the Jets. I think caught 4 or 5 balls out of 6 or 7 targets. Had decent yardage. He's going to get more looks now because... now there's no Mike Evans. And like I said, Chris Godwin is going to be on the snap count. There's no way in hell I see Chris Godwin getting a full workload. And then if I scroll down a little bit more, I'm pretty sure I can find him. But we should definitely see some... what's his name? The young kid. I don't see him yet. I should have used the search engine. But we should see some Ryan Miller. And there was also talking about Tess Johnson as well. He's 4,200. There's going to be some value in Tampa Bay, but to be honest, I like them giving the ball extra to the running backs, even some more. I see that happening. I also see the tight end Cade Otton getting some more looks. But that's beyond that. Let's get back to the preview. I love Devontae Adams. Like I said, every week I love that double stack. Zay Flowers, even though it's normally a tough defensive matchup, Zay Flowers has had his history of playing really big games against Kansas City. Didn't do much last night, but I think he's due for a bit of a breakout on the road in KC. Roma Dunze, he's gonna be another popular pick. Still decently priced at 7,200 at Las Vegas. That's not putting up much resistance. Once again, Mbuka, I see him pretty much being rested all week, expecting to expecting him to carry a heavy workload. It's not going to be easy against Philly when they could easily key in on him, but he's still an option, and the volume is going to be there. Already developed a trusted repertoire with Baker Mayfield. As we keep scrolling down, once we get to the 6K range, Devontae Smith, we already said that. Keenan Allen, all wide receivers, him, Quentin Johnson, they're all viable against the Giants this week. Debo at Atlanta, Ricky Pearsall against Jacksonville, 63, still too cheap, had a great game last week, looking to continue. DJ Moore's also an option. There goes Quentin Johnson. Quentin Johnson's even cheaper. I think Quentin Johnson, if Kansas City was able to hit a couple of deep throws, Quentin Johnson is their deep route specialist. I think he's bound for a big game. So hey, the Herbert stacks will be popping this week. I had Terry McLaurin a couple of. He looked pretty decent. He'll be questionable against Atlanta with a quadricep, so you got to mind that. Both Jacoby Myers and Trey Turner against that Chicago secondary. I mean, I don't know who exactly is coming back, but that played such of a bad game that the Chicago injuries was something to key in on, and didn't really become much of a thing as Chicago jumped on that game and pretty much never looked back. But Jacoby Myers is also an option. There you go. Look at that. Because of the game that they had last week and because of what Jacoby's been doing the first 2 weeks, they're right next to each other. So Geno stacks will be cheap. Both are basically the same price at 6K. If Jawan Jennings comes back, I would like to pick Jawan against Jacksonville. With Buffalo wide receivers, like I said, they have a motto on that team. Everybody eats. This could be one of those that you're just gonna have to get lucky if you decide to go against the chalk. The chalk this week, even though we're not talking about running backs, the chalk is when you pick Josh Allen, you're picking Josh Allen because one, he has just one of those dominant games where he does everything, but in most cases he does everything when he's pushed by another team. New Orleans doesn't seem they're gonna put up that much resistance. So, being two touchdown underdogs. If he throws two, you better hope you get it with him, and maybe as the game is early on before it gets late in the third and he sits in the fourth quarter, if you're picking Josh Allen, you're hoping he throws to your wide receivers if you pick them like Shakir and whoever else you pick, and then he runs one and then that's it for the day. That's what you're hoping for. Other than that, and then you somewhat beat out the chalk of James Cook, because if they did all that and it's the third quarter, that's where Ty Johnson and the other backups coming in. They're not going to need Cook in the game. It's just one of those things that you got to, go against. So like I said, expected blowout, but somewhat dangerous fantasy-wise. Wanda Robinson, could he be a safety blanket because he runs the short route if, Dart doesn't feel like going deep at times? The Indianapolis game should be good, so their wide receivers are viable with Pittman and company. T-Mac looking at another game. If I'm not mistaken, even if Christian Rodriguez finally makes a season debut, I don't think that really goes against Terry like that, against Territory McMillan, because he's mainly a slot and short guy, so we'll see about that. Atlanta just needs to bounce back. I mean, you can't get no worse than that. Same thing with Drake London being under 7,000. Michael Penix and Atlanta stacks will be pretty short. Cleveland options are pretty good. That could tend to be a fast game up and down the field, because if that front line can't pressure Joe Flacco and he can get it short, and pick up a couple of gains down deep, he will be looking for Jerry Jeudy at 5,700. Keon Coleman, one of the Buffalo targets. Rashad Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins. There goes Raheem Shaheed. Christian Kirk looked pretty decent in his debut against Tennessee. He looks to plan to do a little bit better with his new quarterback C.J. Stroud. Like I said, they need all the help they can get to, especially relieve the pressure off Nico Collins. Other than that, fantasy wise, Alec Ayamor is making some noise. Short coverage, short route PPR kind of guy. Cedric Tillman, always a good underneath guy if it's a high paced game. Like I said, I like Sterling Shepard at 5,300. There goes Joshua Palmer, Booty, Josh Downs. A lot of lottery tickets here. Hunter Renfrow is definitely somebody I like against New England. Like I said, New England sells out to go against the run. Any other lottery tickets there? There goes the Chicago, the young Chicago guy, Luther Burden III, who had a breakout game. Yes, it was against Dallas, but he still has a viable matchup against Las Vegas. And Thornton. There's not really there's a couple of things, but I don't think I'll be going down this far at all for anything. Not a damn thing. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, that's a no. Trey Harris against the Giants, he's like the 4th or 5th guy, so that's a no. Mechie, Sky Moore, no, there's nothing here. Tez Johnson, like I said, depends on what that lineup is going to be, because they need at least 3 people to start. They need people to play wide receiver. So if there's any lottery tickets that I would like to throw at, it would be the Tampa Bay crew. But other than that, no, there's really nothing down here that I like at all. Not at all. Then it's Houston, Ronnie, like nothing. But yeah, so if we go over it one more time, what do I like? Pay-ups. Favorite pay-ups are Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico, and AJ. After that, once you get into the 7,000 range, I like Lad McConkey, Devontae Adams, Roma Dunze, and Mbuka, because, like I said, somebody has to play wide receiver. Once we get into the 6,000s, Devontae Smith, Keenan Allen, Ricky Pearsall, Quentin Johnston. And once you get down here to the 6 in the ultimate paydown, because it's against Chicago and Geno, like I said, Geno should be able to. Geno double stacks are definitely they're going to be a bit more popular this week, but it should still be slightly. It won't be as popular as other stacks. So Jacoby, Trey Tucker. I like Jawan if he's cleared. Wan'Dale Robinson, because he's going to be most likely he's going to be the safety net for Jackson Dart, and we already know the kind of game Wan'Dale has. He could end up with. We've seen him get 7 to 13 receptions and still not. Or barely, not even come close, or barely get 100 yards. He'll get 98 and then leave you 3 points short. But points are points. If you're looking for pay down options to open up, I do like Michael Pittman 5,800. Like I said, I like McMillan 5,800. Jerry Jeudy could be a lottery ticket 57. Like I said, it's a short week, even though Detroit's going home. But that's still some defense that could keep that game close, and maybe Flacco finds some of these guys downfield or whatever the case may be. And I don't think I really like anything to be bragging about after like 50-something hundred. No. Yeah, that's the lowest I'll probably go. People might talk Calvin Ridley or whatever, but I think when it comes to Tennessee, Calvin Ridley will be the number one, so he's going to draw. I think he's going to draw the Singletary shadow, so that's a no. So I'll stop at Christian Kirk, 5,500. I know it's his second game back. Oh no, that's a lie. Cedric Tillman I always like picking, and then like I said, the volume of Sterling Shepard. He may be washed up with the rest of these guys, but once again, he can't throw it to Bucky or Rashad White every freaking play. And like I said, when I get to the tight ends, I'm definitely going to have me some Cade Otton this week. Like I said, there's still some things to be deciphered. And obviously we'll see what the volume of Chris. But there's no way in hell Chris Godwin could be a 100% go. First big game after that horrible ankle injury in the middle of last year. So, like I said, we'll see what the Buccaneers do. But like I said, Sterling Shepard did show some flashes or just some consistency or whatever. He does have a repertoire. I mean, you hope he could get into the end zone, but his opportunities will be more this week. Like I said, he had about 4 or 5 receptions last week for 60-something yards. If he would have got a touchdown at that $5,500 price, I think he was 51 or something like that. So 53 opens up some stuff. Especially if they're that, and guess what? They're so beat up at wide receiver. Sterling Shepard's still going to be in the game if, like, the offense can't do nothing, and like Baker's still in there late third, fourth, and they're down 3 or 4 touchdowns. He's going to be there for the garbage time. Garbage time it could either be frustrating or the most fun times in fantasy. So yeah, Sterling Shepard definitely my lowest that I'm going. But thank you for tuning in once again. This is your boy Grade A Fantasy. I will try to get the running back video up later today. And I'm signing off.